All right, everybody, welcome back for another Deep Dives.
It's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah, it is. And today, we're going deep into the world of marketing.
Oh, always a fun one.
But with a bit of a twist.
Oh.
Instead of some huge marketing textbook,
right?
We're going to be looking at one tiny little snippet of conversation about a new marketing campaign.
Interesting.
And I know you might be thinking.
Yeah, I kind of am.
Like, what can we really learn from that?
Yeah, one little snippet.
Now, trust me.
Okay.
Sometimes the smallest details can tell us the most about how these big marketing ideas come together.
The magic happens.
Exactly, the magic.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah, like getting a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah,
so
lay it on me.
What kind of conversation are we talking about here?
All right, so we're looking at a brainstorming session.
Okay.
A marketing team just tossing around ideas for a new campaign.
Classic.
And what's really cool is that even in this short little exchange, they managed to touch on like all the core elements of a marketing strategy, defining their objectives, understanding their audience, and crafting a unique message.
Wow, all in like, what, 2 minutes?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's impressive.
They're good.
So you mentioned understanding their audience.
Right.
Can we actually see that in action in this snippet?
Oh, absolutely.
What are they saying that shows us who they're trying to reach?
Well, at one point they're talking about using humor to connect with a younger audience.
Okay.
And they specifically mention like memes and viral trends. So that tells us they're probably targeting Gen Z or millennials.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're not messing around.
Oh, no, they know their stuff.
So it's not just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Not at all.
They're being very strategic.
Strategic brainstorming.
I like that.
Yeah.
So we always hear about these compelling marketing campaigns.
Oh, yeah, that's the goal, right?
But what really jumped out at you from this conversation in terms of what makes something resonate with an audience?
Okay, so one phrase I noticed was tap into nostalgia.
Ooh, nostalgia.
Yeah, they were referencing pop culture from the 90s, which could be a really powerful way to connect with millennials.
For sure.
Like on an emotional level.
Totally.
It's a classic marketing technique.
Yeah, it is.
But it works.
It does.
Well,
that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Do you think nostalgia always works?
That's a good question.
Because I feel like sometimes it can feel a little cheesy.
Totally.
Or even manipulative.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Like, oh, you were a kid in the 90s?
Remember this.
Buy our product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a fine line.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
It has to be authentic.
Yeah.
And actually, the conversation snippet brings this up, too.
Oh, really?
One of the speakers raises the concern that, like, going too hard on the nostalgia might actually alienate younger audiences.
Oh, interesting.
Who don't get the references.
Yeah, like if you weren't there, you don't care.
Exactly.
Wow. So they're really considering like the potential downsides too.
They're thinking it through.
Not just the positives.
All angles.
Which I think proves our point.
What's that?
That even a tiny conversation can reveal a lot about their entire strategy.
It's like a microcosm of the whole process.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So it highlights that balance between creative brainstorming and strategic thinking.
It's both.
They're bouncing ideas off each other.
Right.
But they're always remembering those goals.
Gotta stay focused.
And who they're trying to reach.
Exactly.
So for our listener out there who maybe is thinking about their own marketing efforts.
Right.
What's the big takeaway for them here?
I think the main thing is that brainstorming, it's not just about coming up with the wildest, craziest ideas. It's also about having a really clear understanding of your goals, your audience. You're constantly checking your ideas against those things.
Yeah. Are we on track?
Are we on the right page?
Are we going to alienate people?
Yeah, exactly.
Love that.
All right.
So remember, everyone.
When you're brainstorming,
it's a balancing act.
Think outside the box.
Yeah.
But keep your audience in mind.
Yes, and your goals. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
Who knew? Such a short conversation.
Right.
Could be so insightful.
Until next time.
See ya. Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to take a deep dive into media negotiations.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got some really interesting stuff here. Basically, we're looking at these sort of simulated dialogues of different kinds of media negotiations. So we've got some that are with small local businesses trying to get, ad spots on the radio.
Okay.
And we've got some that are major national brands, negotiating for Super Bowl commercials.
Gotcha.
So a real big range. And I think it's going to be fascinating to kind of see the different tactics and strategies that work in these different scenarios.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people feel intimidated by the whole idea of negotiating with these big media outlets. They feel like they have all the power. But the truth is, you as the advertiser or sponsor, you actually have more leverage than you might think.
For sure.
And that comes across really clearly, I think, in these dialogues.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive right in. I guess one that really caught my eye was this small business owner, a local bakery, who is trying to get some ad spots on a local radio station.
Classic.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's something that a lot of our listeners can probably relate to. Maybe they're not running a bakery.
Yeah.
But they've got some kind of small business and they're trying to, get the word out there.
Absolutely. And it's a great example of how even a small player can really make a difference in these negotiations.
Right. And there was this one part I thought was really interesting where the business owner, they're talking about the cost of a 30-second spot.
Uh-huh.
And the business owner just casually asks, oh, by the way, do you guys offer any package deals or volume discounts?
Right.
And at first I thought, oh, that's just kind of like small talk, like they're just trying to be friendly. But I have a feeling there's more to it than that.
Oh, absolutely. It's way more than just small talk. It's actually a brilliant negotiation tactic.
Right.
By asking about package deals and volume discounts, they're subtly signaling to the radio station that they're potentially interested in a bigger commitment. So instead of just buying a few one-off spots, they might be willing to sign a contract for, several weeks or months worth of advertising.
Gotcha. So it kind of like gets them thinking bigger picture right away.
Exactly. And that can be a real game changer because now the radio station is not just thinking about selling a few individual spots. They're thinking about the potential for a long-term partnership.
That makes sense. And I bet that can also kind of like shift the power dynamic a little bit.
Absolutely. It levels the playing field because now the business owner is not just a small fry looking for a quick deal. They're a potential key account that the radio station wants to keep happy.
Right. Right. And there was another moment I wanted to ask you about in this dialogue where the business owner offers to cross-promote the radio ads on their social media.
Yes. That's another really smart move.
It seemed like a pretty small thing, but I guess it's not.
No, not at all. It's actually a very savvy way to sweeten the deal without necessarily having to slash their budget. So they're basically saying, hey, we'll give you extra exposure on our social media channels, which, in today's world is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, for sure, especially for a local business trying to reach that same target audience.
Exactly. So it's a win-win. The radio station gets more bang for their buck, and the business owner gets their message in front of even more potential customers.
So really what we're seeing here is that even in a seemingly simple negotiation like this, there's all this like strategy and psychology going on.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a chess match. You have to be thinking several moves ahead.
Right. Anticipating the other side's moves and figuring out how to get what you want without giving away too much.
Exactly. And that's where the preparation comes in. You have to really understand your goals, your leverage, and the other side's motivation.
Okay. So preparation is key.
Absolutely.
Now, how does this kind of thing change when you're talking about these massive national ad campaigns?
Right. Well, the stakes are obviously much higher.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars, right?
Millions, even billions sometimes.
And whole teams of people involved.
Exactly. And you're dealing with much larger audiences and a much more complex media landscape.
Right. So like the Super Bowl ad that we were talking about before. I mean, how do those kinds of negotiations even work?
Well, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
You've got these massive brands with huge marketing budgets, and they're competing for the attention of millions of viewers.
Yeah.
And the networks know that these ads are incredibly valuable, so they're not going to give them away cheaply.
Right. So I guess data becomes even more important in those kinds of situations.
Oh, absolutely. Data is king. You have to be able to prove the value of your ad to the network.
Okay.
So you need to come armed with viewership statistics, target audience analysis, and even competitor ad spending.
Wow. It's like you're going into battle.
In a way it is. You have to be prepared to defend your position and make a compelling case for why your ad deserves that primetime spot.
And I guess it's not just about the numbers either, right?
No, it's also about the story you're telling. You have to be able to connect with the network's audience on an emotional level.
Right. So it's like you're not just selling a product, you're selling an experience.
Exactly. And that's where creativity comes in. You have to find a way to make your ads stand out from the crowd and really resonate with viewers.
So for our listeners out there who might be, getting ready for their own media negotiation,
Uh-huh.
what are some of the key takeaways? What are the things they should really keep in mind?
Well, first and foremost, preparation is key.
Okay.
You have to understand your goals, your leverage, and the other side's motivations.
Right.
You also need to do your research, understand the media landscape, and know what your competitors are doing.
Gotcha.
And be prepared to think creatively. Don't be afraid to come up with some outside-the-box ideas that could benefit both sides.
So it's not just about winning, it's about finding that win-win.
Exactly. It's about building a relationship and finding a solution that works for everyone.
And never underestimate the power of a good story, right?
Absolutely. A well-told story can make all the difference.
Well, this has been really enlightening.
Yeah.
I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
So to wrap things up, what's something our listeners should really think about as they, go into their own negotiations?
I would say think about how you can turn a simple transaction into a true partnership.
Okay.
Because that's when you really start to see the magic happen.
That's great advice. Thanks so much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
And thanks to all of you for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive deep.
Always ready.
Today, we're taking on market research.
Ooh.
I mean, we've all seen those reports and analyses,
It's
right?
max of them.
But the real gold,
The nuggets.
yeah, the nuggets, they're buried.
Absolutely.
It's about finding those insights.
Right. And I think a lot of folks get intimidated by just, the sheer volume of data.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not about drowning in numbers.
Exactly.
It's about
Making sense of it.
yes, finding those
Actionable items.
yeah, what can we actually do with this information?
So how do we even start? I mean, how do we go from like a stack of data to something we can use?
Well, and I think this is really key. It's not a solo sport, right?
Oh, interesting.
Market research insights, they really thrive on discussion.
Multiple perspectives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you've got to
Challenge the assumptions.
yeah, and one person might see a trend and think one thing.
But someone else sees it totally differently.
Exactly. I always say it's like
Oh, you got an analogy. I love these.
I do. It's like having
know.
a team of detectives, right?
Oh, okay. I like that.
Everyone's got their own clues.
Examining the evidence from their own angle.
Exactly. And when they put it all together,
That's when you crack the case.
that's when you get the full picture.
So we're talking about like bouncing ideas off each other.
Yeah,
Right.
brainstorming sessions.
Debates even.
Oh, absolutely. Healthy debate is fantastic for this.
So, okay, we've got our team. We're talking. We're debating. What's like the next step?
All right, so now we're looking at the data, right?
Yep.
But we have to go beyond the surface.
Not just like sales are up or engagement is down.
Right. We need the why.
The why is huge.
It is, because the why is what gives us those actions.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. So let's say
I love a good example.
a company sees a big spike in online orders.
Okay, great.
On the surface, that's fantastic, right?
Yeah, success.
But then they dig a little deeper and they realize, wait a second, it's mostly older customers driving this increase.
Interesting.
And it's because they find the website easier to use than the physical store.
Now that changes things.
It does. Because now,
It's not just about online sales.
right, it might mean we need to rethink our physical store layout.
To be more senior friendly?
Exactly.
See, that's what I mean about the why.
It completely shifts your strategy.
A surface level interpretation would have missed that entirely.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it's so easy to get like caught up in
The initial excitement.
yeah, the woohoo, sales are up, but
Hold on.
you got to take a step back.
Be critical of the data.
Ask those tough questions.
Yeah, like what else could be influencing this?
Right. Is there something we're missing?
Exactly, because, I actually had a similar experience once working on
Oh, tell me.
a project
I
where
love these stories.
we saw this huge spike in social media engagement.
Okay, that's always good.
Oh, yeah, we were celebrating, but
Oh.
it turned out it was a national holiday.
So everyone was just online more.
Exactly. Had nothing to do with us.
A good reminder to check the calendar.
It is. It is.
So it sounds like
It's not just about the data itself. It's
Yeah.
about the analysis, the discussion,
the critical thinking.
all of that together.
That's how you unlock those real insights.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, to everyone listening out there,
Yeah, think about this.
think about your own field.
What kind of data could you be looking at?
What questions do you have that maybe,
Market research could answer.
yeah, about your audience,
Your competitors.
the industry as a whole?
Get curious. Start digging.
You might be surprised what you find.
Absolutely.
Thanks for diving deep with us today,
Always a pleasure.
and we'll see you next time
See you then.
for another deep dive.
Into the data.
Bye, everyone.
So long.
All right, so we're diving deep today into brand development, and I know you're all about getting that strong brand identity.
Yeah, branding.
It's a beast.
Yeah. Well, we've got all these excerpts, and they're all about these like dialogues for creating an identity, positioning your brand, messaging, all that stuff. How do companies make an image and actually get people to care?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like you said, dialogues. It's not just like you're shouting out to the void. One of the excerpts, I think it was from, hold on, yeah, source name. It said, it's not about a company shouting its message. It's a conversation, right? Back and forth with your audience.
Like on social media, you see that all the time, right? Brands trying to be all, hey, what's up?
Oh, buddy, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey.
But it's more than that. But one of the things that I thought was interesting was, I think it was in source name. They were saying that even just like positioning your brand, that's a dialogue too. How does that even work? Yeah, so they were saying it's not just about like, saying, okay, I'm here in the market, this is what I do. It's about figuring out what your audience wants. Yeah. What they care about, what their values are, and then you kind of got to reflect that back at them in a way that they're like, oh, okay, you get me.
So you're like holding up a mirror.
Pretty much. Yeah, like, hey, we're on the same page. Especially now when there's so much out there.
Right, so much noise.
Exactly. Source name said it was about finding that sweet spot where your brand's good at something and your customers want that something. It's like
match made in heaven.
Basically. Yeah.
Okay, so that's positioning. But what about like the actual messaging? You've got, let's see, source name highlighted. They've got that whole framework.
Yeah, the messaging matrix. It's all about like 4 things. Clarity, got to be clear. Consistency, like across the board, your message is the same. Authenticity, you got to mean what you say, and then the emotional connection.
That's huge.
Oh, yeah, your audience needs to feel something. But that all sounds great, but how do you actually like do it, make it real?
Right. It's kind of a heady concept.
I mean, brand name, they do a pretty good job, I think. They really nail that matrix. Their voice is super clear. You always know it's them no matter where you see it. And it all goes back to their values, brand values. That's their whole thing. And it works because people connect with that.
Totally. And remember that campaign they did last year, I think it was, the one where they were all about campaign details?
Oh, yeah.
People loved that.
It just worked.
Really landed.
Because it was real, it felt authentic.
For sure. So, for everyone listening, think about what you're doing. Your own brand. Are you building something? A business? This stuff matters. This dialogue, positioning, messaging, it all adds up. It's how you connect with your people.
You got to know how to talk to them.
Exactly. And it all starts with...
Yeah, and it all starts with understanding them.
So we covered a lot. Dialogue, how it shapes your brand, positioning, getting that sweet spot with your audience, and then the messaging, keeping it clear, consistent, and real.
Yeah, all super important. But now that you've heard all this, here's something to think about. When you see brands out there doing their thing, think about it. Are they actually having a conversation? Or are they just, talking at you?
That's a really good point.
What do you think?
It really is. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.
See ya. Bye.